Hi, it's the 6th of August, 2026, and I made another video about telling you about how the energy transition hasn't even started yet. And now with the Strait of Hormuz, war in Iran, crunch, where the supply of oil and gas is at least 20% down. The price of oil is up. The economy is taking a hit, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. It's more probable that it'll get worse. And we're facing a depletion of our reserves in 50 years or less than 50 years anyway. And we do not want to burn fossil fuels, which creates CO2, which creates climate change. But to be perfectly honest, the past 30 years, or actually 50 years, the environmental groups have been telling us we have to change from fossil fuels to renewables because we're going to run out, and it's bad for the planet, and it's climate change. And well, it hasn't really urged us to act very much until in 2022 with the war in Ukraine, and now war with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. And we do remember the 71-72 oil crisis, and it doesn't look like this crisis is going to go away fast. In fact, it has all the hallmarks of getting worse and worse and worse, and we're running through our reserves. Anyway, we are painfully aware of how dependent we are on oil, and just for our economic survival, we know we need to transition off of fossil fuels into alternatives. So the thing is, and just look at Nate Hagen's a very interesting 3-part video on oil, and the numbers of the which are published by the World Energy Organization and the United Nations, etc. Right now, we are using twice as much oil and gas and coal and fossil fuels than we did 40 years ago. We've doubled in 40 years, and we are there, and we are using 4% more every year. And it's not decreasing, it's increasing. And of that 4% increase of our use of fossil fuels, only 30% is renewables that we build every year. So basically, on the bottom line, we are using, every year we use about 3% more fossil fuels, and all the money we spend on renewables is just covering 1% of the growth of our use of fossil fuels. So energy transition hasn't happened yet. There are two reasons for that. One is that we're not spending enough money on it. 2, we're spending our money on the wrong things. Because we do not have truly renewable, cheap alternatives to fossil fuels. We simply need more research and development, and it'll take us 5 to 10 years to get some truly renewable, cheap energy plants in operation on the first engineer plants in operation. Now, first of all, you need to realize this is a 3-front fight, because 20% of our fossil fuel use is in electricity. Everybody, when they think of energy transition, they're thinking of electrification, but it's only 20% of our fossil fuel use. But we have a lot of options, so I'm going to talk about that. But realize that we have 10% in transportation, and that leaves us 30%, which are used on fertilizers and materials. Plastics, chemical plants, clothes, synthetic clothes, anything that says synthetic is made from oil. So we need to do research and development on alternative materials, and we need to do research and development on artificial fertilizer. Fortunately, for 8,000 years, we've been using non-artificial fertilizer, namely shit. And we're so full of it. We have plenty of it on this planet with 8 billion people and billions of animals that we breed to eat. So I truly hope that our experts and technicians will find a way to transform all that shit that is a burden to us in many ways, and we treat as garbage and we need to get rid of. I hope they can find ways to turn that shit back into fertilizer and reduce our fossil fuel use significantly. Because there are huge strides to be made, both first of all in fertilizer and in materials, and making plastic from other resources. So we need to invest in these 3 areas: electricity, materials, fertilizer, and in that way we can reduce our use of fossil fuels significantly, which will make us independent of fossil fuels, which will make it cheap and renewable, and having cheap energy, cheap materials, and cheap fertilizer will be a real boost to our economy. We'll be able to produce more food, we'll be able to produce more and cheaper products. It's a win-win-win-win-win situation for everybody. So what we need to do is we need to invest in research and development in finding alternatives for fossil fuel. And there are a lot of promising projects, so I'm really happy about that. And tied into that, you need to realize that in order to invest more money into research and development of alternatives to fossil fuel, we will have to change our economy. I'm not saying change it in a radical way right now, but we need to twist and turn our economy and make sure that we change from a financial based asset economy where we buy assets to collect rent and interest, into a resource-based economy where we invest our profits into research and development and building factories and building production facilities for non-fossil fertilizer and materials. So, and electricity, of course. So that is, there are roadmaps for that. Quite famous economists, well-known Nobel Prize-winning economists have built a roadmap and written down in their books, and are teaching at universities how to change from a financial economy to a resource-based economy. And the first thing we need to do is force our companies who are now using 90% of their profit. Think about that. 90% of profits of companies are going into buying their own stock or paying dividend. So they're not investing that money. So we need to turn it around, use 10% to buy stocks and dividend, and to buy their own shares, and put 90% into investing in research development of non-fossil alternatives, which will become very profitable. If you can crack the code and get non-fossil plastic and non-fossil fertilizer, you're laughing all the way to the bank. This is an economic growth proposition which will profit us all, because and buying back shares will only benefit the shareholders. So that's my tip. And now I'm going to talk about energy and electricity, but I'm gonna do it in the next video because then people can watch it separately.